On this episode, I'm joined by Oliver Kerr. Oliver once worked at a marina, fueling boats, spending long days around the water and machinery, but somewhere along the way he became fascinated by something else, how systems around us actually work. That curiosity eventually led him into civil engineering, transportation systems, and building tools that analyze how cities move. Here's our conversation on the OverArch Podcast.
You are listening to OverArch.
We're rolling. We're getting right into this.
Awesome.
Oliver, thank you so much for being on this podcast or this event. Always had a pleasure chatting with you, but now I got an hour of your time and I want to find out where you are in your career, because you're an interesting point in your life, because you're just kind of coming through school. You're making some big life decisions. Other guests we've had or other people I've talked to, we've had a chance to reflect back on where they've come, and they can see these moments in their life, and then this step will go to that step. So I'm really excited to talk to you because you're about to embark on a life journey. So do you want to, maybe just to start it off, just to tell me where you are right now in your life, like your schooling, and we'll kind of play within this area of your life right now, because I usually break these into 3 acts. So the first act is, or the third act is, the first act is where you are today. And then we're going to have a look back and see when you're a young lad and sort of what types of jobs and how you kind of came to these decisions where you are today, right? So it'd be great if we could come back in maybe 10 or 20 years and have you on again, and you can tell us, you can reflect back. So Oliver, where are you at today within your career and your schooling and whatnot? How are things going? And give us a summary there.
Yeah, I would say things are, I'm relaxed. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
So you're feeling good within like your studies and okay.
Yeah. Like, with the future always being uncertain, I'm always, not exactly sure, where I'll be in the future or, where I'm coming from. But right now I feel good.
So let's put this into context, because if someone's listening to this, how old are you?
I'm 22.
So you're 22.
Yeah.
And so you're in what are you doing right now for school?
Yeah, I am at University of Victoria in Victoria, and doing civil engineering. So that's basically my life for the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's I got some hobbies outside of that, but it's just been school and work.
What types of classes are you taking right now at university?
It's a weird semester, I would say.
Okay.
But I'm in 5 classes. Our last big project is called Capstone.
Okay.
It's kind of like, it's a big deal. You're in groups, and you have a topic that you are assigned to, which is honestly, I think, one of the flaws in the system. But okay. I think it does mean you can get out of your box and your interests a bit and kind of show that you can be, able to do more. Luckily though, for me, I actually managed to land something that I think was quite interesting. And I'm with my friends. We're working on a transit improvement project.
Yeah.
So
I want to get in. We're going to get into this quite a bit, because, like I say, I got some notes here. You're doing some really cool stuff. So right now, you're doing engineering. So you've made this decision to become an engineer. So we're going to come back to this, and we're going to spend some time on this.
Yeah.
But let's go back to sort of what was your first sort of job, not career oriented, but what was your first job you ever had?
First job. First paid job, we'll say.
Yes, paid job.
Okay,
not for parents and grandparents. And
because that could be way back. Yeah. Maybe a little child labor. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's fair.
My first real job, I worked at the Oak Bay Marina in Victoria.
Okay.
As you know, grew up there. So, that was, the first kind of look at, this is what people go through every day.
So how old were you there?
Oh man, I was in middle school, so I think I was I was like 15.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
So you're working in a marina at the age of 14.
Yeah.
That's got to be kind of cool.
Yeah. It was right up my alley, because at the time, I was spending a lot of time on the water, as the ocean.
Yeah.
So being able to work with boats and people who, spend their lives on boats, because there's a lot of people that just kind of go off on a different path, and they just live on boats, and being able to help them, talk to them, It was great, but the pay wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be. But hey, it was the first job. I was outside walking all day, so I couldn't complain on that.
Yeah, especially as a first job. I mean, you're out there, you're in the public, especially as a young guy. You're probably like at the water. I think is pretty special. Meeting some pretty cool people. That's one of those jobs where you can kind of self-reflect a little bit and go, yeah, I met some cool people. One of my first jobs out in university, really quick, I was a bellman at a hotel. Met some amazing people. And they're all on, and I was just like, yeah, the pay was okay during the time, but man, the people you meet from around the world was just like, yeah, this is a pretty cool job, even though they probably didn't pay us enough, but that's okay. That's another story. So when you were at that age, what do you think you kind of learned from that job? Looking back, like, because you're not retired, you're just starting. So we're gonna spend some time in your youth development, and sort of reflect on that. So what do you think you kind of learned from that job?
I think overarching.
Nice.
Well
done, man. Ding, ding, ding. Go. Yeah.
I feel like anyone at that age should, or any first job should be to interact with the public, see what everyone is, or what the average human is like outside of school. Because at that point, you kind of grow up with your family and school. And I just think like, you see what people walking around, doing their day-to-day stuff, but you don't really interact with them. So I think that was one of the big takeaways, I'd say. In terms of how that shaped my development going on, maybe I think from a young age, I liked to see how things worked, how systems interacted with each other. And working at the fuel dock, I saw, like I was working the fuel pumps and whatnot, and I was like, oh, all these pipes and stuff and how the pumps work and, switches and all that. Like that was interesting to me.
And even some of the boats coming in and all the mechanics. Yeah. So were you, okay, so you're currently an engineering student career. So did you have an engineering kind of brain even back then, do you think, looking back, or was it curiosity? Maybe as a young kid, were you like Lego crazy, or what do you think?
I did enjoy the average Lego set. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But I had a bit of a, an engineering brain. I didn't know it at the time though. I always was fascinated by just infrastructure. Again, as I mentioned, systems, going to an airport, you're like, where do the bags go? Like, because suddenly they're magically on your plane, stuff like that.
Wow. So how old do you think you were when you were starting to analyze, transportation?
I don't know. When you're not driving in the car and you're looking out the windows for like hours at a time, probably then. So
you start looking at the power lines dipping. You're going, I just looked at the dips. I didn't think, where does that power come from? So hence I'm not an engineer, but that's really cool. So after that job, you would say you're kind of in high school at that time, right? 14, 15. Okay.
Yeah. My timeline might be a little off, but
that's fine,
it was, before I graduated.
I don't think no one's going to hold this against you and say, you said you're 14, not 15. So that, and that's not that long ago, because you're a young lad here. So technically then, when you're sort of in high school, when do you decide that you want to do engineering as a profession? Because is that something that sort of springs on you in the university? And you're nodding your head. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Or was there another job after? Sorry, I kind of scrambled here. Was there another job after the?
I would say there was another job, but related to engineering, not so much. Okay. I would say the path to figuring out what I wanted to do, which is engineering, came from more classwork. It took probably until like grade 10 or 11, which is quite actually far into high school terms. Like my high school is 4 years long. Okay. So halfway through, then I was like, okay, you know what? I think maybe this is what my next path is. And I went to a school where going to university was you had to go to university. Okay. There was options for, going to trades but most people are like, yeah, you got to go to university. So I was like, okay, that's what I got to think about as my next step in life.
Okay. So you're in grade 9, 10. Mm-hmm. Were the teachers sort of, hey, students, you should be thinking about this? How did that sort of come to be? How did they
Yeah.
lay it out for you? Maybe is
Yeah.
a better question.
I think it was not the best system, but
Yeah,
it was
that's
like,
fair.
okay, what classes are required for what degree to go into university?
Yes.
And that's basically it. Like, they're not like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, no, what degree do you want? And I think
Yes.
for many decades, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, it was go to university, get a degree, and then you're in a job. But now I think we're shifting the industry into a different path. So
We are in a new world.
Yeah.
I think, anyways. Yeah, when I got my degree, it allowed me a lot of networking. I think the biggest thing at university, and we'll talk about more of this, is really just get your mind out there and try different things, meet people, go to clubs. Yes, get your degree, have a focus, study, but be open, because things can present themselves where you might go left or it might go right. But with engineering, I don't think, unless you're like, wow, this is too much, then you do a full 180. But so in school, when you decided, okay, engineering how did that come about? How did engineering come about? You got an interesting story about a grade 10 math teacher here. I want you to, no names, but I want you to sort of take me back then.
I was definitely going to bring that up, but
Yeah.
you got it. So obviously no names, but I think my pivot point was I was in grade 10 math, and everyone did the same math. But going into grade 11, you had to do the normal math, which they call foundations, or you do pre-calculus, which is like the big boy stuff. So and going up to that point, math was not my strong suit. And if you meet any engineer in university, it'll be like, if you can't do math, you can't do engineering. And maybe that doesn't translate to the real world, but at least in university, you have to be able to do calculus at least. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what to do here. And he was like, well, it might be easier if you just do foundations. And I very much considered that, but fortunately my parents were like, no, you have potential here. They definitely were the ones who helped guide me in the right direction. And I'm glad I had someone there to do that, because I can't imagine being in that position not having someone to talk to about that, because that was the pivot point. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do pre-calculus, and I ended up doing better than I expected, and the rest is history. So
let's stay here a little bit, because I think that's grade 10. Someone mentions like, no, that's not your direction, but you have your parents to sort of say, yeah. Like, what was that feeling like? Like, these are moments that you're going to have your whole life. We all have these moments where it's like you get the no's, or you get the uncertainty. Some people say, like, put up the big middle finger and say, no, I'm doing this. But at that moment, what did that feel like to hear that news? What was going through your mind at that point?
I think having someone there who actually knows you and having that reassurance made me feel just like, I had a bit more or less weight. I was going to say sense. More air in the sails, but that doesn't make sense.
Well, it makes sense. More, keep going. Yeah.
More buoyant. So, and that's about I got out of it, though, is just I needed that reassurance to know that I was going to keep going towards this path that I slowly built up over the years, thinking, okay, maybe this is what I want to do. Oh, there's this thing called engineering. Oh, and then, that reassurance was basically.
So it sounds like, having that parents. When you get the feedback from somebody who's maybe not in your family, but having the family sort of foundation, I think it maybe in your heart kind of felt, okay, that's your opinion, but I'm willing to explore this further. And you've got your parents. You're right. At that age, your parents play such a huge role, right? And your coaches and whatnot, of course. But your parents, they're there to support you. They know you may fall, but they're there hopefully to sort of lift you up when you need it and give you that advice when you need. I know I have a 15-year-old daughter who's at that stage in the grade 10 world. So hopefully so far no decisions like that have to be made. But so when you decided like to finally take that math, how did that go?
It went good. Well, I'm skipping to the end. It was a lot of trial error along it, along the route. I mean, I look back at it and I was like, wow, that was so trivial, like the stuff I was doing then. But, when you're 15, like you don't know what's going on. Yeah. And I was able to really kind of get some foundational studying going. I know it sounds so boring, but it was so important, to kind of keep on believing in yourself and getting those habits going.
Yeah.
Yeah, in high school, I mean, it's so important. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to university, you have to develop those in high school. And I know I sound like every school counselor ever.
No, but it's good though.
Yeah.
And it's not boring because you live it all the time, and this is kind of your life. So we just kind of tend to think, it's like no, but other people don't go through this. So I think it is fascinating. And then you look back. Yes, you are in engineering, so obviously it went well in the grade. Yeah, kind of. Spoiler alert. But looking back though, you definitely can see that as a. What did you learn from that? Do you think? I know we kind of already topped on it, but just you personally, what did you feel you can take away from that?
I think, so I can kind of give not like a lesson, but a piece of advice to other people who are listening, is as parents or children, it's when you're 15, it's a tough time. You're figuring out who you are, and just having someone there to, as you mentioned, catch you if you're going to fall. Like it's, that figure, the parental figure, you could say, just huge. It's to have someone in your life like that.
Sort of a mentor too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, they're very important.
Yeah.
So that's good. So in grade 10, you made the decision, I'm going to be an engineer then? Is that kind of how did that come about?
I think, that's, okay. I was like, I think I'm going to apply to it in university. So then that was my main path, my plan A, as you would say.
Did you know how much work, the workload you're going to get at university at that age?
I heard stuff on YouTube, because I was like, I'd watch some videos and be like, oh, like the highest salary is aerospace engineers or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, but it's disguised. There's always a lot of other stuff going on in the background. I mean, any career where you're paid a lot, it's not easy to get to.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
They're paid that for a reason, right? And it's years of experience, and that's not out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting that pay fresh out of a graduation. Yeah,
I wish.
No, but engineering is it's an incredible field. There's so many angles to it. I'm just fascinated. We've had another engineer on early in this conversation podcast, and like I say, you could talk for hours on certain specific topics, which is, not this podcast, but maybe in the future.
It would be boring though.
Well, the engineers might like it, right?
Yeah, that's true. I would like it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, find your niche.
Yeah.
So when you're first, is it fair to say, okay, you've been accepted to, what was it like to be accepted into university and get the program, and you've applied yourself, grade 10, grade 12 graduation? Is that fair to talk about that?
I'll expand on that a bit more.
Sure.
Because it was, that last year was, I'm sure, as everyone went through, COVID hit, and that was, it changed the way my last year was. Like, my last year was supposed to be, okay, you get accepted early in the year, and then everything's fun and games, you go party and drink and all that. But no, none of that was happening. And it was, my acceptance almost didn't even happen either. Like they had a weird system where the previous year, that was, okay, I'm going to backtrack a bit.
Yeah, please do. No worries.
The grade 12 year, that was 2021. So it was more like the second year of COVID, when people came out of the real lockdown, the first real lockdown, and then we kind of went into repeating lockdowns. It obviously depends where you were in the region, but here in Canada, it was kind of like, rolling waves in a way. And the people from 2020 who didn't have a grad or anything, they had their acceptance offers deferred most of the time. A lot of people were like, goodness. I'm going to go like do, they were like, I don't want to go do online school, and sit in a dorm room with restrictions. So they want to go travel to countries that have less restrictions, or do something new. So there was a lot of people who were deferring their offers or just straight up not applying to university, and that had an impact on my year, where there was almost like more or less double the amount of applicants. So the requirements for grades were just sky high. I remember I was looking at going maybe to McMaster or Queen's University in Ontario, and the requirements to enter were like a 96, 97 average.
Okay.
And that is like, I don't even understand how people get those.
Wow.
So like, there's always one or two people around who are just super smart.
Yeah, they're from another planet.
Yeah.
They come down here, their brains just absorb and they just go about their merry way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've met them.
Yeah. But like you got hundreds of other people who are applying. They definitely don't have that. So, but I guess apparently some people did. But because of that, my plans, I was thinking originally I was going to go to Ontario, and instead, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll go to Vancouver. And instead, Vancouver didn't, they actually rejected me. And I had solid grades. I had really put the work into that point, and ended up, UVic, because they accepted me right away. But yeah, UBC, they didn't want me. And, I definitely had a question mark in that. I was like, maybe I'll do something else.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So there's another little turning point, or not, like, I don't know, self-doubt. You just question. Yeah, I get
Definitely.
it.
Yeah, I even thought maybe I'd do the Coast Guard. So, because they pay for your schooling and you get a job and all that. And, I was on the water, hence the first job with the water.
And in Victoria.
So I still had that, connection between being on the water and working on the water. But, I have no regrets, and I was very happy I went to UVic. In fact, I think it was a blessing in disguise. But
absolutely.
that moment where I actually got in, that was like, wow, okay. Like I was over the moon.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, okay, now the real work starts.
The real work starts. You're right. But there's a lot of decisions and emotion at that stage, right? You're just kind of figuring, because you're trying to sort of map out your future. UBC, that's their loss.
Yeah.
I know that already. So yeah, no, I think what you've done at UVic, there's a couple other things you do as well that is pretty remarkable. So I think honestly, they scored big time. That's just not me, but I do believe that. So being accepted, what was that like? Get the letter, open it up, or is it email?
Oh, it was an email. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wish it was a letter. I think that would have been
nice,
so much more cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little wax stamp on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh man.
Proper.
Yeah. It was an email, I opened it up, and it was like, congratulations. And it was just relief, I would say. I had a lot of friends who they went, they were set on going to Ontario, and they got into Ontario, and I was like, well, I didn't get to Ontario, and they got into UBC, and I was like, well, I didn't get to UBC. Yeah. So it was just, that year, like, was kind of, it was rough, watching all these people who you're like, oh, I feel like we're equals, but then just, man, the comparison.
Oh, that comparison is the worst.
It is such the worst. And like, it doesn't matter in the end of the day, but when you're in grade 12, it matters. Yeah. So, it was just relief at that point. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that comparison and seeing what other people are doing, it creeps in even in an older life too. It's one of these things. And now with the advent of social media, you're just seeing it all. So that's an art in itself. It's just, you're on your journey, right? Nobody's on your journey, and you are one of how many people on the planet, right? So it's you really got to ground yourself a lot to that this is my path that I'm taking. But it's hard when you see everyone else sort of getting accepted and you're waiting for the email. But when did it set in that it's like, okay, great, but man, here comes the work?
Yeah, when I opened up the calendar for my courses the next year, that's when it set in. Okay. I was like,
was that an attachment to the email? Or what was
but we could say it was pretty much, it wasn't that far after where I looked it up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be busy. So,
okay.
Yeah. And, also just people how busy engineering was and all that. So
yeah, it's a heavy load. Now, when you go into engineering though, are you specializing right away, or what's that?
Yeah.
How does that work?
It depends on the program. In Canada, mainly you have a system where, they call it undeclared. Your first year, you do general engineering courses. And then your second year, you specialize. So that could be, civil, electrical, mechanical, chemical, all those. But some other universities, like UBC, you just go straight into it. And I think UVic, I know they're not the only ones, but at least off the top of my head, they have a great system with that, because engineering, lots of people decide, okay, I want to do engineering, but I don't know if you're aware of how many people drop out in first year.
I do know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
having that year to even figure out if you want to do engineering is a must. And then you are specializing after that. Imagine doing both those decisions in 1 year. I mean, it's overwhelming. So
Wow. Yeah, the first year is, I remember like there's a couple classes that are the weed out classes. It's
Yes.
like, okay, math 100, 100, and then organic chem was another class that's just an eliminator. We go, you kind of wake up pretty quick like, oh, I've got to study this much. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Some classes were repeated, but anyways, that's on my end. So when you specialize, so what was that first year specialization kind of like? I'm going to get into what you're doing today, but what was like when you were first at school doing the generalization, things are being presented to you, I imagine. And then you're going, oh, that's interesting. Not so much. Or what happens there?
Yeah, I'd say the university doesn't really show you what the specialization is like. They just kind of give you the general idea. I mean, I'm sure they have plenty of resources, but it's more of a individual research thing. You just go out and, ask people, do your research on the internet. And it's at the end of the day, you just go to a form and you apply for what you want. And luckily, civil, as just as a reminder, I'm in civil engineering.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's definitely nicknamed more of the, less smart engineering specialization, just because mechanical engineering and electrical engineering requires so much more heavy math.
Okay.
So a lot of people pick civil actually more as a second. But at that point, I was looking at, what electrical and mechanical do. And a lot of it, I was just like, I don't really want to do that. Sure, I was looking at the power lines when I was like 5 in the back of the car and being like, oh, I wonder how they work. But I don't really actually want to go in and figure out the math laws for that and whatnot. I was like, what I really want to do is design it, infrastructure on the ground, curbs, water, all that. And that just spoke a bit more to me. So in the end, it was more of a personal decision than the university coming in and kind of telling you what you should do.
Well, it's good. You mean a lot of self-reflection, a lot of figuring out like what's speaking to you, what's not. And it's funny how you have this engineering the word engineering, you guys there you go. You guys are in a class of yourselves. I mean, I didn't know there was a battle amongst engineers of who the smartest engineer is. You're an engineer. You're good.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
So right now, what are you studying then? What are you focused on in your classes?
Yeah. So UVic is mainly structural engineering and environmental engineering.
Okay.
Those are a subsection of civil engineering, which is obviously a section of engineering. So, if you get confused by any of the labels, we'll have a diagram attached to the description down below for you. You get like a tree of just like it expands so much. It's such a broad field. So, I like the structural stuff and the environmental engineering stuff, but ultimately, transportation is what I think I'm going to stick with.
Yeah.
I just obsess over how things and people move around.
Okay.
Trains, buses, cars, people walking, biking, all that. Like I'm the design of that. That's what I've really kind of gotten into. UVic though, their classes for transportation engineering, they don't really have any. The one class they had it didn't live up to the expectations. And the one thing with the engineering program that I've done at UVic, which is a requirement, which I think is the biggest takeaway from their program, is you have to do work terms. So you have to go out and apply for a job for 4 months and work in a natural engineering firm. And that's probably the biggest part of the program.
That's a good transition though. You're getting real, like it's almost like this launching pad, but yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. You've got to get out and see the real world examples, work with people.
Yeah.
Right. Figure out problem solving. Mm-hmm. So in this program right now, I'm going to dive into this a little bit because this is just personal. Like, okay, what the heck are you doing? So traffic systems, What is interesting about that, and the flow of people, and what are the problems that we're facing today? Would you say?
I would say if you asked anyone on the street, they'd probably say congestion, traffic congestion. You know, trying to get people around, people getting to their appointments, you know, picking up kids, all that. Like, there is so much demand on the roads every day, and being able to figure out how to design the systems that control it. I mean, like, most people just see a traffic light or traffic signal, and they just see red, and then, you know, green, and then back to yellow, and then to red, and that's all they think. But there is so much more going on behind the scenes there, and to me, I find that very interesting. So,
have you guys looked at in your studies? Do you look at other traffic patterns around the world, or are you like what's happening there? Take me down the rabbit hole.
You know, you're gonna be disappointed. No.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's okay.
But I know this is saving for the, you know, the later act, but you know, I want to explore that. I want to learn more of that. And, you know, I'm not sure if we're going to go into that right now, but that is my next step in life.
What is the next step? We can go. We're going everywhere.
Yeah,
we're
flying around. I just wanted to.
There's no structure. I say there's 3 acts, but I mean we're flying.
Right. Okay, cool.
I've known you for a while, so I always enjoy talking with you. So go ahead.
Yeah. So my next step, you know, assuming I graduate, because this is my last semester, most people just go off and work right away. But, you know, as you mentioned, you know, there's so much more in the world that, you know, every country and every municipality, every government does things differently. And I just feel like I want to learn more about that. So I'm going to do a 1-year master's program. And, you know, most people do their master's in the same place that they did their undergraduate degree. But I'm like, no, I want to go somewhere else. So I'm going to another continent. I'm going to Scotland to do this. And I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Because life in Europe, I know Scotland's technically not in the EU, but in my eyes, it's still Europe.
Okay.
The way that people get around is very different than here in North America. North America, it's very car centric. I know here on the West Coast, you know, in general, we have higher percentages of people walking and biking. But if you look at the stats, like 70, 80% people
absolutely
take the car.
Yeah.
I have cousins in Scotland, and they are in their mid-20s, and neither of them have a driver's license. So it's, you know, it's proof that there's other
walking or biking,
they
or just
walk,
public transit,
public transit, train, anything. Yeah. It's you know, it's not a different world, but it's something that I want to look into. Of course, you know, helps that things are a little closer, but I want to study that, and so I'm going to go do that.
That's a massive decision. I'm going to hop across the pond and try a brand new accent, food, the whole thing. So do you have family there? What makes you do you just look at a book, or how did it make you go there?
Yeah, it was a very just, excuse me.
Yeah, no. These are life-changing moments.
Oh yeah.
You can get emotional.
I know. It was just a random Monday night. And, you know, I was thinking, okay, you know, I kind of want to, you know, do a little bit of traveling after I graduate. You know, I've lived in Victoria since, well, I mean, you know, I was born in Vancouver, but been in Victoria since as long as I can remember. Yeah. I wanted to go somewhere else, you know, do some traveling. And then I was like, hang on, there's such things as master programs. So then I looked into that, and an hour later, literally just scrolling on the internet. I didn't do a whole lot of research, and I found a program, and I was like, okay, I'm dead set on this. Of course, before I applied, I did extensive research. Of course, but it was, just sometimes, you know, you have those moments where something just clicks in your brain. Good that random Monday night. And I know, life-changing decision, but, you know, as long as you think about it. Yeah. Before you actually do it.
Yeah. Well, plus this has been your path too. You set yourself up for this decision. It's not like, Oliver, you are not an engineer. Why on earth are you going to get a master's program? You need your bachelor's first, right? So you've sort of set yourself up to be, and it's kind of, you equipped yourself with your tool, like with your degree and your knowledge, and you're like, I can take this next step. So in your research, it's probably more focused. But that, to go to a whole new country to do it, and at your age, I mean, that's a life-changing thing. You're going to get some great experience in Europe. and then learn how they kind of transport over there.
Yep.
And then what are you hoping to, are you taking it one day at a time then at this moment? Because you got a lot of schoolwork. It's kind of hard to be like, hey, and where are you going to be in 5 years?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
more or less. Yeah. Yeah, obviously my main priority right now is to graduate, because if I don't graduate, I don't go to Europe. So that's, a big thing.
Yeah,
But-
no, that matters.
Yeah. But yeah, I am looking into the future as well past that. I envision myself coming back to the West Coast.
Okay.
I have all my roots are here. Besides, I do have family in the UK, but my immediate family's here. All my friends are here. All the connections I've made.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. And man, the West Coast is just so beautiful.
It is a
too,
beautiful
so,
place. Yes.
Yes.
It is hard to leave this place.
So,
But you never know. You could get that, 7-figure salary offer from France. Hey, Oliver, we need a new tram here, right? So you can balance that out there. I want us to talk about, because I've made some notes, because you filled out a questionnaire before we sat down. You were designing Aragon skids for a dark matter research lab in Italy.
Yeah.
Totally random. I mean, this is career, but what is that?
yeah. Might not be Aragon.
What did I write that wrong? Okay, what is it?
Argon.
Oh, argon. Okay. Yeah, it is argon. You're right. I just said it wrong. Yeah, it's argon. You're right.
I was like, what is it? Like a spider or something?
What is that?
Yeah. So we're gonna dive into that.
Okay.
My first work term was not civil engineering related. My first work term, I just needed to get a job. That's how it goes. You don't have any engineering experience. You just kind of have like, oh, hey, I did McDonald's in high school or whatever. That's all companies see. So I needed to get a job, and I applied to mechanical engineering jobs, electrical engineering jobs. At one point, the first job I think I applied to was doing hydroelectric dams in Quebec. Obviously didn't get that, which is probably a good thing. It's a little far.
Yeah. Colder winters.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so I ended up landing a job in Chilliwack, and I worked for this company who does contract manufacturing. They weld skids, which are basically metal frames to put tanks or piping or just random systems. You could have like a methane generator, or
Okay.
you could think of anything, but it's very mechanical based because you're doing welding and stuff's moving. You might have pumps and whatnot on that. Anyways, they were trying to get a contract for this company which wanted to develop storage for argon, and not just any general storage, because you just have a bunch of tanks on the skid.
Okay.
This had to be airtight for like 20 years, and it had to be able to get washed down, because the whole point of this is they were going to ship the skids to Italy, and then they would be washed down to make sure there's no contaminants, and then they'd lower them kilometers into the ground, and they would do dark matter. Did I say dark? Yeah, dark
Matter research. Yeah.
Yeah, underground, because you don't get any interference from all the chaos that happens on the surface. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea if that's what happened, but I designed
Okay.
I did the skids for that, and that was
Wow.
one of the weirdest things I've ever done, because it was
Yeah.
completely unrelated but just super cool.
Yeah.
And I had no idea they even were doing that. So
That's such a, I mean, engineering, you're right. There's so many fields you can go into, right? It's such a fascinating career. No, absolutely. Well, that's kind of neat. I've got another note here I wanted to bring up, because these are kind of cool. Worked on modeling and designing a major highway interchange in British Columbia.
yeah, so this is probably still going on.
Yeah.
But in Nanaimo, they one of the main highways that runs through, well, most of Canada, Highway 1, as Canadians would know.
Trans-Canada Highway. Yeah.
Yes. That runs through Nanaimo, and a developer wanted to basically make thousands of new single family homes and, some industry and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they have to connect it to the highway. So for some reason, with my limited expertise, my boss was like, yeah, do you want to model and design this? And so I ended up being the one talking to the client and then the ministry on how to design the slip
Oh, that's
roads
cool.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think that for me, that was probably my crown jewel moment.
Well,
Like,
that's transportation.
yeah,
That's civil
exactly.
engineering. That's like today. Oh, this is what you like. Well, let's do it.
Yeah, sure. Not as cool as maybe the argon skids in Italy for dark matter, but like I don't care. I think this is way cooler. So
Well, yeah, no, it is cool because you have to think about the flow of people. Just popped into my head. It's kind of silly, but my daughter is going to be. I'll bring it around. It doesn't make sense. She's going to be driving soon, right? So I always think about how we as a society flow together. Sometimes people will be honking and whatnot. So I was thinking to myself, like, how do I explain, like, when you're when you're moving as a human society, we should think of it as ants. Ants are amazing because they just methodically do their job, and there's no ant crashes. There's no ants falling off the route, right? And I thought, like, yeah, number one, you got to be kind, be patient, let people in, but think of yourself as being that ant that just sort of we're all doing it together. It's not a singular. Mm-hmm. So you being part of that, I think that's super fascinating. Like, you have to think about, okay, how do we all flow?
Yeah.
As a society at certain times.
Yeah, we're all individuals, but collectively we're all working together.
We have to.
So,
yeah,
100%. Otherwise, it's anarchy. So,
yeah,
I think that's probably good.
Okay,
way
yeah,
to leave that.
There's no real question answer there, but that popped in my head when I was talking about driving, because I mean, with the highway you're producing, you're right. You have a new development, and how do we connect to the main vein? Mm-hmm. Right? That's pretty wild. You're doing some cool stuff, man.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe because it's an ongoing project, I'll start working, and knowing how slow things move sometimes, I might be working on it again in the future. So, yes. But yeah, super super cool project. I really enjoyed working on that one.
So when do you graduate? When is the?
I think my last exam is April 13th, and then I have walk across the stage, get my piece of paper, whatever, convocation in June. But yeah, it's really not far off.
Okay, so this will be aired probably after your graduation. So I just want to be the first to congratulate you on all the hard work you've done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think you are the first one.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So you heard it here first. So now that what's going to happen after graduation with career-wise? So when are you in overseas? When are you in Scotland? When does that happen?
Planning to go over late summer.
Okay.
There's some festivals that happen in Scotland, so maybe hoping to get the tail end of those, and then school starts up, and 2-year program here is a 1-year program there, so it's going to be very condensed. So that'll be my life. But the plan is, I'm in such a beautiful part of the world. I want to try to enjoy as much as possible. Yeah. So
and you've got to focus.
Yes.
You've got like that end game, which is really really cool to have that sort of a what is the word? Your goal. You have a goal. Set a goal to achieve. So that's really cool. Okay, so this next question I want to ask you is, looking back, you're at this point in your life, what advice would you give your younger self? Kind of that maybe before you had your first job, and then you're about to explore, right? And then, like I say, in 10 or 20 years, we'll have you back on, and then you can reflect back and you can be that 20-year-old self telling you now, actually, we're going to do that. Tell your younger self any advice?
I think my advice to myself, probably, it sounds weird to say that, but is just kind of be the individual you want to be. I feel like so many times we get so caught up in being what we are as a group with other people, or as a society, or following the trends and all that. And I think I wouldn't say wasted time, but I could have spent my time better if I wasn't doing the things that I didn't feel like I got the most value out of as myself. I feel like I've definitely done that a lot more in the last couple of years, but it's a slow progress up, to really come to be who I want to be. But I think, if I could tell myself that in high school, I think, it would it's just be more who you want to be.
High school is a tough time. I mean, you're just trying to figure, because I'll reflect back to my time, and I just remember trying to be cool, trying to just fit in somehow. But you're right. Like, if you can just sort of look yourself in the mirror and go, hey, this is who I am. And just kind of but it's got to be a conscious sort of practice, grounding yourself, realizing this is who you are, good and bad, but it's a journey. And then, yeah, you're right. The following the trends. Oh my goodness. I can't do it. And I'm not at the age to do it too. My daughter would kill me if I was doing TikTok dances on my socials. So we'll stay away from that.
Probably
what
a
about
good
yourself?
idea.
Okay. This is going to be a weird one, and maybe you can answer yourself. So what would you tell your future self right now? Say your future self is about to go on a trek up a mountain or whatever this next few years is. What would you tell yourself? Maybe something might be there.
Man,
Sorry to get deep. We're going
No.
going deep matter research.
Yeah, I again, it might be cliche, but I feel like I don't take enough photos or mental snapshots of the memories that I'm creating. I don't, you never know if like those are gonna go away. And I know for a fact that I personally remember things very well if I just take one simple, picture off my phone. For example, could be, yeah, at the top of a mountain. I might not remember that if I, didn't scroll through my camera roll and see that. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't have to be a video, but just that picture kind of reignites the memory. And I think I don't take enough photos. I think that's the best way for me to remember things. So in the future, to myself, I think I need to keep on doing that.
So it sounds like, yeah, be present, be in the moment. Yeah, but take that memory for sure. You don't need 3,000 of them, but now it's funny with our phones. I used to take photos traveling with film. So you get like 16 pictures. So you got to be very specific on what you're going to do, because developing them was hundreds of dollars as well. So it was quite a process, but you're right. I think being present, self-reflection, right? Because where you're at right now in your life, you've done a lot of work to get here, right? A lot of time studying, a lot of probably sacrifices. What kind of sacrifices do you think you had to do to get to here in your?
Well, just, yeah, I think you already said it, studying, like all that time, spent studying for tests that really in the grand scheme of things don't really change much. But it's still important. So, like they have to be sacrifices that need to be made. But yeah, if I went down a different route, those, I might have had so much more time to be outside, doing the hobbies I want. So, yeah, it just time really.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely.
and that time can be anything. Like I could have made new friends, like not that I'm upset with my friends right now, but, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. No, these are kind of reflection questions where it's like you may not have the best answer, but there's no answer. It's a time. So in the future you'll look back and reflect on these moments. So my last question here, I got two questions here. One question is, you're an immersed university student. You're studying your butt off. You're working like crazy. Balance. How do you balance not the stresses? Maybe there's some advice from a new someone just coming out of high school. Like, here's your university life. Let's talk to that person just starting university. What's some advice? How to balance it? What are you finding was working, not working?
Yeah, I think time management is super important. If you're doing a mix of working at school, I actually think that's one of the easiest things to do, because school and work are so different and they're different worlds in my view. So that's easy to manage. But when you're doing all school work, that's probably the hardest. Doing all work, yeah, that can suck too. But that depends more on the job. But school, it feels like it's all consuming, because you're always in class and then you come home and you're not done. You should be studying, right? That's what your brain's telling you. So having that time management to know when to cut off the studying or when to start studying, that's the most important part, because there's so many times when I'd see friends, they would be like, oh yeah, I studied for 6 hours today. But no, they more did like an hour and a half of actual studying and then 5 hours of kind of just like maybe studying, then, maybe scrolling a bit or looking up stuff. And that's time wasted. And when you are a very busy student, that adds up very fast. So, I sound like a school counselor, but time management, you'll save so many hours, and you'll be able to go for walks or, go play a sport and all that. It's important, but also don't study too hard for tests, because they're just tests. And whatever you get out of the course is much more important than your grade. So.
Yeah, that's well said. But yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, maybe sounds like a counselor, but you're living it though, right? So it's quite. I think it's good advice for anyone listening in that age group. We'll see what happens for sure. But my last question is, what excites you most about this next chapter in your career? What are you excited about? You may have highlighted a little bit, but I'm just curious.
I'm excited to build and help. Build things and help people. My last co-op, I worked at the city of Victoria, and that's very different than my other co-ops because it was public sector, and they're way less worried about making money and helping. Usually, what we're doing is helping developers, but for the city, you're helping communities by improving their day-to-day life, and most of the time don't even realize it, but that you're making an improvement to their everyday lives. And it could be big or small. Like I was like designing crosswalks, but I was also, retiming entire corridors of signals, traffic signals. So those things, it felt really good to help people that way. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to in my career. Put my passion for transportation into actual meaningful things. So
Oliver, that's cool. Hey man, thanks for the chat. And I'm really, it makes me feel good that there's people, younger generations like you out in the world, kind of ready to tackle and help people. So I appreciate that. Thanks for the conversation. This has been the OverArch Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to OverArch, the People Podcast.